this is some good recovery, right? 1 year of 1 milligram oral finasteride, 5 milligram oral minoxidil allowed him to make a decent recovery. Especially if you're coming from this, right? Like, this is a lot of wispy, thin hairs and vellus hairs in the midsection. But also, it could just be the case that his seborrheic dermatitis subsided. Hey guys, before we continue this video, I would like to mention that we now have liposomal minoxidil sulfate on my website, folligens.com, folligenz.com, and if the order queue is available and open, you can order it there. We're running it as a cosmetic. There are other sort of botanicals inside of this particular topical that are pretty helpful when it comes to conditioning the hair. So that's at folligens.com, folligenz.com. That's folligenz.com. Go check it out and maybe even try it out. See you there. Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another hair progress review video, and we're back on the Trestless subreddit, the largest forum in the world when it comes to discussing topics pertaining to hair loss. And we're looking at this particular user by the name of Electronic Ad 4848. And on their particular post, the title of the post is, quote, 12 months, 1 milligram oral finasteride, 5 milligram oral minoxidil, unquote. So let's have a quick look at their camera roll. And already we can see, this is some pretty harsh lighting, but still, even with long hair, he's not getting good coverage because he has very, very low density in his midsection, to the point where you can literally see his scalp, like plainly. And there's some vellus hairs here and there from what I can see. I can't zoom in that much. I'm just going to use the Reddit view. But overall, the density is a huge issue in his midsection. Obviously, he has androgenetic alopecia, and it looks like it's going towards his hairline too. Now, granted, his hair is wet, and sometimes when your hair is wet, it can clump together in weird ways, so it might even make the problem look worse. And on top of that, again, he has this sort of direct beam of light on his scalp, which is really making the problem worse, right? So that's something to take into consideration. So let's go to the next photo in the camera roll. And this is his hair, dried. Obviously, it is not in the best shape. I think he's also dealing with some seborrheic dermatitis. And the reason why I say this, and some people ask me, dude, how are you able to tell from a photo if somebody has some low-grade seborrheic dermatitis? Maybe, you're just mistaking the lighting. No, I don't think I am, and I want you guys to pay attention real close. If you look closely into the scalp, over here, you can see that he has some scaling on his scalp. These little, like, raised bits of white plaque over here, some over here. Maybe you want to pause the video and take a screenshot to examine this yourself. This is not lighting, right? Over here as well, right? You can see the demarcation line between where the plaque starts and where there's regular skin over here. This is some sort of plaque, some skin scaling. And because of that, if you have severe seborrheic dermatitis, it can mess with your hair follicles due to the inflation. Sorry, I was just looking at some economic headlines. I said inflation. Inflammation that it can possibly cause to your hair follicles, which can push them towards shedding earlier, which can push them towards being dormant longer, because that inflammation is restricting growth factors that would typically cause the hair follicle to grow better. Now, he could very well still have androgenetic alopecia, which I'm pretty sure he does, but this guy's dealing with both androgenetic alopecia and potentially seborrheic dermatitis. And if you haven't already, I already have a video that I made on my channel when it comes to combating seborrheic dermatitis and also the inflammation caused by seborrheic dermatitis and even psoriasis as well. So go watch that and talk about it with your doctor. Anyway, let's go to the camera roll again. Now, let's go to the third picture in the camera roll. It's going to be a bit of a quick video today. Okay, so we're not really getting any sort of intermediate progress in between, but who really wants to take these depressing pictures every single day, right? My buddy, he does similar pictures. He takes pictures of her scalp, as everyone does who is watching videos like this. If you're watching a video about hair loss, don't lie, you probably take a picture of your scalp too. But in any case, he was on a date with this chick, and he wanted to show her like a meme in his camera roll, and she was like, "Why do you have so many pictures of your scalp?" Meanwhile, he was wearing a hat. So she's like, "Take off your hat," right? I remember this. He told me this. This was back in university, and I could sympathize with him on that regard because who knows? That is some tough shit. In any case, going back to our subject at hand over here, this is some good recovery, right? 1 year of 1 milligram oral finasteride, 5 milligram oral minoxidil allowed him to make a decent recovery. Especially if you're coming from this, right? Like, this is a lot of wispy, thin hairs and vellus hairs in the midsection. But also, it could just be the case that his seborrheic dermatitis subsided, right? Maybe he's treating his scalp better. Maybe he's using Nizoral or maybe cycloperox. Maybe he's using clobetasol propionate. Maybe he's using MCT oil. MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, probably from C6 to C8, maybe C12 as well. Maybe that's potentially, putting the malassezia at bay that's causing his seborrheic dermatitis. Maybe he's done those things. Or maybe it just subsided because his scalp microbiome changed due to other factors. Maybe diet, who knows. But in any case, that's the sort of progress you can typically expect if you have seborrheic dermatitis alongside AGA and you're able to solve the seborrheic dermatitis, because sometimes the seborrheic dermatitis is making your scalp look worse than it actually is, even if you have androgenetic alopecia. So it's always important to address that aspect if you're having any sort of weird scaling on your scalp. Address it. You really shouldn't have itchiness that's burning on your scalp. That's not AGA. If you feel like something's crawling beneath your skin, or it's hot around the ears and also in the middle of the scalp, or if you have a referred itch of sorts where you scratch one area and you feel it on another spot on your scalp, that's not a usual side effect. That's unusual, and that needs to be addressed because that is what possibly could be arresting your development on your androgenetic alopecia treatment. So take that into account. Now, for the fun part, let's have a quick look at the comment section. UK5427 says, quote, "Seriously amazing. Oral min?" Somebody else responds, this guy, Leadership Secure 1664, "Isn't anal min better?" And, maybe there are some guys in this subreddit that are curious enough to try anal minoxidil. Now, I think the absorption would be a bit too, rapid. So you might have to, calm down with the Diddy stuff, right? Don't be boofing oral minoxidil or minoxidil in general. I'm done with this topic. Let's just look at another comment. Hair support guy says, quote, "Amazing, dude. How old are you? What was your treatment timeline?" Okay, this is a pretty good comment, unquote. So electronic ad 4848, our subject at hand here, says, quote, 24, I started both meds at the same time, but with 2.5 milligram minoxidil initially, oral minoxidil initially, then switched to 5 milligram oral minoxidil around the 4th or 5th month. My routine has been the same since then, just both before I get to bed each night. I didn't really see much results until around 9 to 10 months in. Then after that, my results became way more clear. I think before that I was getting new hairs, but they were very weak and thin, unquote. So that's a pretty good timeline. Let's see. Let's go for another comment. Moon444 says, did you gain any hair on 2.5 oral minoxidil? And if not, did you see a big difference when you switched to 5 milligram? Just to cut in, it tends to be the case that with minoxidil usage, the hair growth effects are kind of dose dependent, especially with oral minoxidil usage. So that's something to take into account. And finally, the last comment or thread that I want to look at is over here from this guy by the name of The Inevitable 3. He says, quote, did you use ketoconazole or any shampoo, unquote? Electronic ad, our subject says, quote, just a standard shampoo. I used ketoconazole for about a month and I hated how dry it made my hair, unquote. Now, I don't know if you can really say that because you did have Sebderm. And yes, ketoconazole has some drying aspects to it. Cycloporox, you can get away with it. It typically doesn't have this sort of drying effect to it, but really it depends on what other agents are in that shampoo because it could also cause some issues as well. But guys, that's it for this video. But before I end this video, I wanted to make an announcement like I've always been for the last couple of videos. We have liposomal minoxidil sulfate at a 10% and 5% concentration at my company that I just started called Folligens. That's FOLLIGENZ.com. And at the time of this video, it's currently still in stock. Let's check, what's going on. So right now we have 203 out of 300 for the 10% sulfogens concentration. And we also have 276 for the 5% concentration. That's 276 out of 300 at the time of recording this video, October 11th, 2025. So maybe go check it out and maybe even try it out. We're running it as a cosmetic and you can read more about it on the website. So that's pretty much it for this video. And congratulations to Electronic Ad 4848 for this really, really good recovery. Anyway, peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.